Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, I'm bringing you guys a 10-team half PPR mock draft from the 5th overall spot on Draft Wizard, the Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard. If you want to use it, you can go ahead and check the description down below. I have it all linked down there. Now, in this mock draft, we're just going to be doing pretty much what I would normally do in a draft. I'm going to be talking about all of my picks, as well as some of the other picks that I find interesting in the draft, so that you guys can get a nice standpoint of how I feel on each player. Tomorrow, we're going to be back with more normal videos. I just did a mock draft today because I'm going to be pretty busy the whole rest of the day, and I wanted to make sure that I get a video to you guys every single day. If you guys are new to the channel, please make sure to click that subscribe button, because I produce content every single day to help you guys win your 2020 Fantasy Football Championship. So with that said, like I said, it's a 10-team half PPR mock draft from the 5th overall spot. The roster positions go as follows: quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and 6 bench spots. So we're going to be using the composite ADP of Yahoo Sports ADP, Fantrax, as well as Fantasy Football Calculator to better understand how people are drafting on a bunch of websites combined. Obviously, I actually suggest that if you're going to be drafting for your mock, or if you're mock drafting for your actual draft, if it's on ESPN, Yahoo, I would suggest doing a bunch of these on Fantasy Pros, but then your last couple, I would suggest actually doing on the website, because you're drafting against that true ADP. You're seeing who's actually going to be on the screen at your pick when you're picking. So Christian McCaffrey was the first overall pick, followed by Saquon Barkley, and then we saw after Saquon Barkley, Ezekiel Elliott, and then Michael Thomas. Pretty typical first 4 picks of the draft. Now, this is a 10-team league, so I'm more likely to actually go ahead and draft a tight end early, since the positional advantage is just much stronger in a 10-team league. In a 12-team league, it doesn't really matter as much. I think you just go ahead and wait. I think you really wait in any type of league, and that's typically my strategy. But maybe, just maybe, if a tight end falls to us in the second round, that might be the guy that we are looking for. So right here, to me, this is going to be an easy pick. To me, it's very clearly Alvin Kamara. I mean, the guy is just a step above. He's a tier above for me over guys like Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, and Dalvin Cook. We saw him have kind of his ceiling year last year. He didn't have the greatest year ever, and I think we're to see him obviously push above that to where we really think that Alvin Kamara could play to. I think the guy's a super safe pick, especially since the New Orleans game plan is really just to either get him the ball or to get the ball to Michael Thomas. I think we're to see a big, strong year out of Alvin Kamara this year, and to me, he's a lock around the 4th or 5th pick. Typically, I don't like to go wide receiver in the first round, especially reach on a guy like Michael Thomas, but I could get safety in Alvin Kamara. So after Alvin Kamara goes Dalvin Cook, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Joe Mixon, Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Julio Jones, Nick Chubb, Josh Jacobs, and Aaron Jones. I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video. If you guys want to get my draft guide, that's also linked down below. It's $7.50 a month. If you want to buy it for the 2 months, it's going to be $15 total dollars. I priced it pretty fairly, and it'll help you guys win your draft, so please make sure to get that. No more ads, though. I'm not going to be just spitting about this the whole video. So, time to get back into it. So, we see the pick at the back of the draft with Tyreek Hill and DeAndre Hopkins. That's a strategy I typically don't like doing, while loading up on 2 elite wide receivers is a good idea in some drafts. I certainly don't like the value in the 3rd round looking at me when it's running backs, but it is a 10-team league, so it's much easier to make a decision like that. So looking back at the board, guys still available at wide receiver: Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, Mike Evans. At tight end, all the big tight ends are available. All the big quarterbacks are available. Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, Austin Eckler, CEH, Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, all still available at the running back position. So we are actually going to go a bit different to what I normally do. I normally preach, typically I go 2 running backs right in a row, but I don't want to do that this time since it's a 10-team league. I actually think the running back value in the 3rd round will be better. I'm not going to end up going tight end because I really like the value at the wide receiver position here. To me, there's a bunch of good picks: Chris Godwin, Kenny Galladay, Mike Evans, and sure, one of them might fall to the 3rd round for me, but I just do not believe so. So I'm going to go ahead and snag Chris Godwin. I really think he's in for a big year with TB12. Now, right now, it is unknown where the fuck Antonio Brown is going to go. People are saying, oh, he's going to go to the Bucks. Then there's the reports the Bucks don't want him. Then there's reports he's going to all these other teams. He was practicing with Russell Wilson a few days ago. So who really knows where the fuck he's going to end up going? I don't think it's going to be to Tampa. And I think that we see Chris Godwin absolutely tear it up this season yet again. The guy was on fire last year with Jameis Winston. You think with a more accurate passer in TB12, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, we could see Chris Godwin really have a strong year in 2020. Looking now at the board, we can see that Travis Kelce came off the board, followed by Lamar Jackson, Kenyon Drake, Miles Sanders, Allen Robinson, Austin Eckler, George Kittle, and Kenny Golladay. So the big 2 tight ends came off the board already, and so did one of the big 2 quarterbacks. Lamar, obviously, Pat Mahomes should be coming soon in this 3rd round. In a lot of drafts, you're going to see Pat Mahomes and Lamar Jackson go around the 2-3 round range. Same thing goes with Travis Kelce, and then you're going to see Mark Andrews typically go around later. And then for the other quarterbacks, some people, in some leagues, you might just see a zillion come off the board in like the 4th and 5th round. In other leagues, you will see none go off the board until like the 7th round in the more sharper type of league. So I kind of wish I drafted I kind of wish I drafted Austin Eckler, but I do like to try out different strategies. I'm not mocking to do the same fucking strategy every single time. You're going to try and learn from these mock drafts, but I think so far we have a solid team. We got Alvin Kamara and Chris Godwin on the board through 2 rounds. Now with our 3rd round pick, looking at running backs still available, we see guys like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Todd Gurley, Leonard Fournette, Chris Carson, Melvin Gordon. So to me, there's one clear pick here, and it's between Leonard Fournette and CEH, but I really think the safer pick is probably Leonard Fournette, but I want to go with the more upside in CEH. Obviously, Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes got together. They said, we want CEH, and that's why they drafted him. They're telling us that CEH has the potential to be amazing. He's in a high-powered offense. As long as he gets the rock enough in the game, I think we could really see him pay off extensively in the 3rd round. I know there's a lot of people that don't like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but I think he's going to be screaming up the draft boards as we get closer to the season because the hype for him is going to be unreal. He's on the best offense in the NFL, if not one of the best, I guess, because technically some people might think the Ravens offense is the best in the NFL. But with that said, I still think Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to have a great season. I think you just have to temper your expectations that it might take a week or 2 for him to get into it, but he should immediately, according to the expert notes, Kyle Yates at Fantasy Pros thinks he'll instantly be a workhorse on that team. I think it might take a little bit of time, but with that said, even if it takes a week, Clyde Edwards-Helaire is still going to be able to ball out all season long for you, especially as you're running back 2. I feel pretty safe with that. So looking back at the draft board right now, through 4 rounds, I guess now, after we went with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Pat Mahomes came out the board. His teammate, Leonard Fournette, Mike Evans, Chris Carson, Amari Cooper, Melvin Gordon, Odell Beckham Jr., Adam Thielen, Cooper Kupp, DJ Moore. Just like I predicted, Pat Mahomes went in the 3rd round. Typically, after you see Lamar go, Pat Mahomes comes shortly after. So looking at the board right now, looking back at the draft board, a lot of wide receivers are typically going to notice are going to go in the 2nd half of the first 4 rounds. At the back of the 3rd and 4th rounds, where you're going to see a lot of wide receivers go, the first 2 rounds are very, very, very running back heavy, and then you see the wide receivers typically come later in like the 3rd and 4th round. So now we're looking at the board right now. There's not too many running backs that I really like here. Todd Gurley, James Conner, Le'Veon Bell, David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, all still available. So I think I'd actually advise waiting 1 more round on running back. I think it would be a reach, but I am going to be disappointed if Le'Veon Bell does not fall back to me. But then again, he'd be my RB3. So we're actually going to do a bit of a different strategy here. We've already attacked wide receiver, but now we're going to go ahead and get one of the best tight ends in the game. I actually think you can argue Mark Andrews being a top 2 tight end. If he was to play 16 games, Kittle or Kelce was to get hurt, it's very easy for him to finish at that position. I mean, last year, the guy was an absolute animal with less targets than I think he's going to get this year. And the Baltimore Ravens offense was just amazing. I think they're going to have to be more pass-heavy, which is obviously going to boost Mr. Marky Mark Andrews up. So looking at the board after when Marky Mark Andrews, Le'Veon Bell came out the board, followed by A.J. Brown, Zach Ertz, Juju Smith-Schuster, Todd Gurley, Cortland Sutton, Calvin Ridley, and Roberto Woods. So obviously Le'Veon Bell came off the board, so that's kind of disappointing. But that's the risk you take when you go ahead and attack the tight end position in the 4th round, but I'm okay with that because now there's still running backs available on the board that I still will happily draft. So looking at the board, there's still David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, Mark Ingram, David Montgomery. So to me here, there's a lot of risk on the board, but there's also a lot of opportunity for these players to be great. So what do you personally want to go with? Let me know on the board who you'd prefer about David Johnson, Jonathan Taylor, and David Montgomery. To me, the safest pick is probably David Montgomery is probably the safest pick. The riskiest pick is probably David Johnson, and Jonathan Taylor's the pick where it might take a couple of weeks for him to get going, but I think could elevate himself into that workhorse role. So which pick would you prefer? I don't know if I want to draft 2 rookie running backs onto the same team. It seems like I'm chasing too much, even though I think he's more of the middling of the risk. So I think here we're still just going to go with him and go with Jonathan Taylor. I think it may take a couple of weeks for him to get it going, but I would not be surprised if Jonathan Taylor, after 3-4 weeks into the season, is an RB1 week in and week out. We can see that the Colts have produced a rusher to get over 1,000 yards in Marlon Mack. Now, I don't think Marlon Mack's going to take the back seat and just absolutely shit the bed a bunch of times in a row, but I think they're going to see that Jonathan Taylor is just so much more talented than Mr. Marlon Mack, and I think we see a great year out of Jonathan Taylor as a guy guy who could definitely catch passes out of the backfield and a guy who we have seen get a shit ton of workload in college football and still be able to keep it going. So looking back at the draft board, after we went with Mr. Jonathan Taylor, Keenan Allen came off the board, followed by Dakota Prescott, James Conner, Tyler Lockett, Mark Ingram, Darren Waller, Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, T.Y. Hilton, and Stephon Diggs. I actually really don't understand Mark Ingram in the 5th round. Sure, he's kind of a safer type of pick, but what happens if Dobbins takes over there? I don't know. I'm kind of avoiding that. Same thing goes with Melvin Gordon in the 4th round. Some other picks I'm going to analyze the board that I don't really like. Odell Beckham Jr. I think is a reach in the 4th round. While I think the guy will probably finish as a top 20 wide receiver, I just don't think he has super amount of upside due to the fact that I think the Cleveland Browns are going to be such a run-heavy offense in 2020 under head coach Kevin Stefanski. If you guys have enjoyed this video thus far, please make sure to click that like button down below. So right now, through 6 rounds, we're about to make our 6th pick. Alvin Kamara, CEH, Chris Godwin, Mark Andrews, as well as Jonathan Taylor are all on the roster. So right now, we could go with wide receiver, or we could just go ahead and draft another running back so that I feel super safe at our running back position or our flex position, considering we want Jonathan Taylor, who I'm not too sure is going to be safe early in the season. I think David Johnson could be early in the season. Now, I know he's probably going to end up getting hurt because he always does, but the Houston Texans are going to feed this man the rock. So I think in the 6th round is extreme value for David Johnson. I'd be pretty pissed if I missed out on David Johnson. You can totally fill out the bench in fantasy football before you go ahead and fill in the wide receiver 2 position. I actually do this a lot. I don't think you have to fill out that starting roster, even though most people go, oh, I don't have a quarterback, let me draft a quarterback. No, you don't have to. You could fill out the bench and get the quarterback as well as the wide receiver 2 position later. So David Johnson's the pick here for me. I think we're going to see him get a zillion carries. Now, will he be able to take that workload on his back? I really have no idea. Probably not. He probably does end up getting hurt, but with that said, I think David Johnson could be an easy flex for me the first couple of weeks of the season. After we went with David Johnson, David Montgomery came off the board, followed by Devin Singletary, DK Metcalf, Deshaun Watson, Devontae Parker, Josh Allen, DJ Chark, Baby Chark, as well as Matty Ice. So, the bunch of quarterbacks have came off the board, but you can go ahead and wait at the quarterback position for a decent amount of time before you have to go ahead and get one. So now we're going to attack the wide receiver position, and to me, there's a couple of picks here that I like, but one clearly more than the other. Terry McLaurin, Jarvis Landry, AJ Green, who I hate. Absolutely no reason to draft him. Tyler Boyd, Michael Gallup. For me, it's an easy pick in run TMC. Terry McLaurin, the guy tore it up last year in a situation where it wasn't the best for him. Dwayne Haskins obviously was a rookie at that time. They had a bunch of other quarterbacks throwing him the ball. Now we're going to see the mainstay of Dwayne Haskins. Will Dwayne Haskins actually prove to be good or not? I don't really think it matters because Terry McLaurin almost got 1,000 yards last year, emerging as a rookie, coming out of absolutely fucking nowhere and being good, even up against corner ones, like the best corner on the team. The guy's making him look silly. So I think that this year we could see him doing the exact same thing in 2020. So after we went with David Johnson and then Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel came off the board, followed by AJ Green, a fucking terrible pick. AJ Green will spend more time in the hospital than in your starting lineup. He has done that in the last 4 years. He spent more time out of the game than in the game. EA Sports, it's in the game. Jarvis Landry, Tyler, Boyd, great fucking pick. I love Tyler Boyd, Drew Brees, Raheem Mostert, Michael Gallup, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Swift, and Julian Edelman. Now, I honestly think Marquise Brown is like the most interesting pick in the 8th round. Because there's going to be weeks where that guy takes the DeAndre Swift type fucking shit straight on your chest. He's going to take a dump right on you and screw you over. But then there's going to be other weeks where the guy absolutely lights it up. So he's a nice firecracker to throw into your offense, especially in plus type of matchups. Looking at the board, still available. We're going to keep loading up on the running backs. And I asked this question on the last video, so I want to know again, Cam Akers or Kareem Hunt? I'm going to go with the upside pick in Cam Akers here. We have a shit ton of rookies on the team, so actually that might not be the most advisable pick, considering we kind of have two riskier type of running backs. So I think the safety net here would be Kareem Hunt, and that's who we are going to go with. I noticed if you guys have been watching me for a while, I love drafting Kareem Hunt. The guy's just uber safe. If Nick Chubb was to get hurt, he's an RB1. If Nick Chubb doesn't get hurt, he's a solid flex option for you week in and week out. So after we went with Kareem Hunt, Cam Akers came off the board, followed by Darius Geis, who's a no bueno draft for me. The guy just always gets hurt. Will Fuller, Marvin Jones, Brandon Cooks, John Brown, Darius Slayton, and James White. James White is a guy screaming up my rankings. The guy seems like he's going to have a huge potential this year with Cam Newton under center, who absolutely made Christian McCaffrey break out a couple of years ago. So now that we have a shit ton of running backs on our team, it's time to hammer these high upside wide receivers that could potentially grace our starting lineup on those bye weeks or if someone gets hurt. So, looking at the board at wide receiver, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, Mike Williams, Jamison Crowder, Emmanuel Sanders, Sterling Shepard, Anthony Miller. So, there's a bunch of guys here that I still really like. To me, the best upside pick here is Deontay Johnson. Obviously, he is not the #1 wide receiver on the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think we saw enough out of him last year to believe he could be the wide receiver #2, and we've seen Big Ben obviously put up extreme value with guys like AB and Juju in the same lineup for your team, as well as when it was just Juju, or not Juju, it was just AB and Martavius Bryant. That guy got kicked out of the league for smoking some loud, but that's okay because even he was able to make that guy good, and that guy probably wasn't even as good or as talented as a guy like Deontay Johnson. So after Deontay Johnson, we see Sony Michel came off the board, followed by Damian Williams, Marlon Mack, Christian Kirk, Kerryon Johnson, Ronald Jones, Jordan Howard, Hunter Henry, Mike Williams, and Emmanuel Sanders. So now it's time to keep loading up on them wide receivers so we make sure we get some solid wide receiver depth onto our team. Next, we are going to go ahead and get my boy Anthony Miller, who I think could have a great year this year as the wide receiver 2 on Chicago. I don't think he was given enough chance. Well, he was given the chance, but he had Mitch Trubisky as the starting quarterback. Now, if 9-inch Nick Foles becomes the starter, I think we'd see a much better year out of Anthony Miller. Obviously, not the super most upside high pick, but I think he's more of a safer pick. I think we could see him averaging like 10, 11, or 12 PPR points per game, especially in these plus matchups with 9-inch Nick Foles. So now, after we went with Anthony Miller, it's probably time to load up on some more running backs. We got our 4 wide receivers. So after that, we see Keyshawn Vaughn, Matt Breida, Phillip Lindsay, Tariq Cohen, Sterling Shepard, San Francisco 49ers defense, CeeDee Lamb, and Jamison Crowder. Don't be that ass fuck who drafts a defense in the 11th round. Wait till the last 2 rounds to do that. Don't be crazy. I'll show you how to draft a defense later in the draft. Now it's time to go for some more upside at the running back position, and it's pretty fucking obvious here that it's J.K. Dobbins. I mean, if Mark Ingram was to get hurt, J.K. Dobbins would fly into the roster of one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL, and he obviously showed a lot of talent in college, so that's a pretty safe pick, and the guy can use his hands as well, so we could definitely see a good year out of J.K. Dobbins if Ingram gets hurt, but I think if Ingram stays healthy, a lot of people are way too high on J.K. Dobbins because I don't think he sees the field a super amount of time like many might think. After we drafted J.K. Dobbins, another rookie, Jerry Jeudy, came at the board, followed by old man Evan Ingram. Not even an old guy, just an injury-prone guy. Don't be drafting him. Darrell Henderson, Golden Tate, Pittsburgh Steelers defense, me, Cole Hardman, Tyler Higbee, Tevin Coleman, Baltimore Ravens defense, and Jared Cook. Now is about the time you draft your starting quarterback. So if in the 12th round a lot of quarterbacks haven't been taken, you can go ahead and take a guy with upside like Mr. Big Ben, who if he could stay healthy, he'd be a beast. Daniel Jones. There's other guys. Gardner Minshew. That might still be available for me. It's an easy pick, though. TB12, Tom Brady, the GOAT. I got the connection. Chris Godwin and the Tom Brady connection for my roster. I don't draft 2 quarterbacks or 2 tight ends, so I don't really worry about that. So now we are back on the clock. After we went with Tom Brady, Carson Wentz, Alexander Madison, which is a great handcuff in the 12th round for Dalvin Cook, especially since the guy is holding out. After Carson Wentz and Alexander Madison, we see Alshon Jeffrey, Austin Hooper, who's a terrible pick, Latavius Murray, Tony Pollard, Buffalo Bills, and Duke Johnson. Why I don't like Austin Hooper is because, like I said, I think they're going to be running the ball a lot, so why do I want a pass catcher on a team that's not going to be passing the ball that much? Now, with our final useful pick of the draft, because then we got to get our kicker and defense, I'm going to go draft a running back again, and we're going to go with Zach Moss, who I think has a shit ton of upside. Obviously, Devin Singletary's the starter, but I think we could see a 55 to 45% split in Singletary's favor. But if Singletary was to go down, Zach Moss would be valuable. But even if Singletary wasn't to go down, I think Zach Moss gets the ball enough to warrant being a guy that you could definitely start in a tougher type of situation. So now, after we went with Zach Moss, Nyheim Hines came off the board. I'm going to move myself to the top so you guys could see better. Zach Moss, Nyheim Hines, Sammy Watkins, Gronk, Spike, Boston Scott, Aaron Rodgers, Adrian Peterson, Harrison Butker, Justin Tucker the fucker, Noah Fant, and the Chicago Bears defense. So now it's time to get our defense and kickers. So first we're going to go ahead and select our defense, and we're going to go ahead and get the Chargers defense week 1 going up against, unless they've already been picked. I must be fucking blind because I don't even see the Chargers. They haven't even been drafted yet, and I still can't find them on here. Maybe I'm blind and you guys will be like, oh, they're right here. They're the LA Chargers, not the Los Angeles Chargers. Makes a whole lot of sense when they're the Los Angeles Rams. Fucking shit. Fantasy pros, you should update that, please, for me. Now, why I picked the Chargers is because it's an easy week 1 matchup. You want to draft based off of an easy week 1 matchup, they get the Bengals and a rookie quarterback in Joe Burrow, likely to make some rookie mistakes in his first ever NFL start, especially now that it seems like there may not even be a fucking preseason. After that, there's a bunch of defenses and kickers, as well as Chase Edmonds and Matt Stafford, an excellent pick late with Matty Snapback, even with those injury concerns. Now we're going to go ahead and get a kicker and draft my boy Zane Gonzalez of the Arizona Cardinals. I will make a kicker kicker ranking video later. That probably wasn't the most ideal kicker there. I think I like Fairbairn a little bit more, but I don't think that matters too much right now in July. We're also one day from 4th of July, so happy 4th of July to all you American people out there. Quarterback Tom Brady, to compare, or to obviously recap our roster: Tom Brady, Alvin Kamara, CEH, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, Mark Andrews, Jonathan Taylor. Chargers defense: Zane Gonzalez, David Johnson, Kareem Hunt, Deontay Johnson, Anthony Miller, J.K. Dobbins, and Zach Moss. We got a B grade. Don't buy too much into the grade. It really doesn't matter. So thank you guys all for watching. I love each and every single one of you motherfuckers. Make sure to buy the draft guide down below. Click that subscribe button, and make sure to have a great rest of your day. Most importantly of them all, I love you all. See you guys tomorrow with yet another video. Goodbye.